Everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, and I'm joined once again by Chez, who's sat in with many an episode, and we're doing another album review today. Chez, thanks for sitting in again.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks again.
So this will be the second time this year that we've talked about this particular artist, because earlier this year we reviewed this album, Honeymoon Suite Alive, a good album, one of my favorites to come out this year.
Likewise.
But their guitar player, who's long been a favorite of mine, Derry Grehan, has only just released his very first solo album. It's hard to believe in 40 years he's never put out a solo album, but here it is. It's called Dirty Power. Of course, he's got his trademark tire track guitar, which I've always loved.
Yeah.
First seen on the cover of Racing After Midnight, and this is available through Rock Paper Merch. And this came out, and I thought, wow, this isn't someone who took time away from the band and worked forever on this album, and the band's not doing anything. He's he put it together and put it out, and the band's on the road. So I just thought it would be cool because I read about it and I thought, Derry's always been a favorite guitar player of mine. Even before I knew what his name was, I remember just watching those early HMS videos and thinking, I really like the guitar in this band.
Yep.
And the fact that he'd never done a solo album before, I thought, let's hear what this sounds like. I don't always get the solo projects, but I was curious about this one, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I have always thought that he is underrated, and I think I mentioned on our last Honeymoon Suite review episode, I always feel that he kind of gets overlooked. Like fans like you and I, and likewise, we know about him. But I always thought that a wider spoke of like maybe North America or Europe or the UK, just they're not really listening or they haven't been exposed to him because he is an excellent guitar player. And I really do feel on this solo album, he just kind of lets loose on it. So
yeah,
very excited to talk about this.
Yeah, Derry Grehan's not a household name in guitar circles. Those that are in the know who he is. I thought this was actually pretty cool. A couple of years ago, I posted a picture, I think, of the Racing After Midnight album cover, and I got a comment on it from Steve Brown from Trickster, and he's like, "Love changes everything. Awesome tune." So it's like people know who he is.
Yeah,
people know who he is. So, but I kind of had a feeling before I listened to this that I had a pretty good idea of what it would sound like, and it's more or less there. I just figured it would be a good rock instrumental guitar album, and it kind of is. It's not like it's not like putting on a Steve Vai album, but it's not unlike putting on a Joe Satriani, because Derry will play the melody that would be sung on guitar, and he's always sung first. But I could always tell, like listening to the way he plays, his solos were always just right for the Honeymoon Suite material, and this gives him a little bit of a chance to cut loose. Like the pyrotechnics of his guitar playing, he uses it sparingly in HMS because they are a band that's songs and melodies first, and he plays for the song. So it's really cool to hear, sort of him unleashed. So let's get into the tracks on this. The first track is called "Don't Be Afraid," which again, it makes me think of that tire track guitar because it starts with like a revving up, a la like Bad Motor Scooter by Montrose, which in turn was actually Mick Mars' inspiration for the intro to Motley Crue's "Kickstart My Heart." So it's got that, and it's just a good, fast, it's a perfect opener.
Yeah, in fact, you mentioned Mick Mars, and that's my first note here. It's got that Motley Crue "Kickstart Your Heart" feel to it, and definitely as we talk about the songs, I feel that he's also showing a lot of his influences in some of the songs, so I'm going to mention them. But I did also get the "Kickstart My Heart," and then it goes into this really solid riff, and then like I'm going to say partway through, maybe like a minute in, where kind of like the core, where like the chorus would be into the bridge. It kind of reminds me of something that would have been off of Joe Satriani's Crystal Planet. Like I could perfectly see that this song fitting in on that album. Not that it sounds like it, but I get that feel from it, especially that song Ceremony. I get that feel from it. Not saying it sounds like it, but it, just like you said, with the melodic, what would have been the melodic courses right there. And it's a hard driving opener, solid melodic solo and bridge, and like a killer solo. And like you said, like, you know, he's always had great solos in Honeymoon Suite, but this solo album kind of gives him that opportunity to kind of like unleash a little bit and just go a little bit extra mile there. So just a great opener. And I just get those, I just get that. I could see this on the Satriani's Crystal Planet album. So fantastic. Great opener.
Cool. There's another song on here that makes me think of Satriani album. We'll get to that when we get there. Great opener. I don't know. It would be really cool if he did a song or two from this in the Honeymoon Suite set. I mean, it would give Johnny's voice a break, and you know. But yeah, next up, it's a funny title. Pass the Cream, and this one really showcases that guitar as the vocal melody.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I was reading it right, but yeah, I kind of feel like a Cream influence on it. I almost kind of felt like the Cream song Crossfire. So I wonder if the title Pass the Cream is an homage to that, like showing the influence for Cream. I just got that feel, like I'm listening to it, I'm thinking it's not quite Hendrix Crosstown, but no, it's Crossfire. And then I think, wait a minute, Cream, Crossfire. I wonder if he's paying homage, but I got that feel. It's another fast one, and it's another cool solo to it. Just like what you said there, and what you were just saying about how you were describing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that, but yeah, I mean, it could be an homage to Eric Clapton, specifically what Eric Clapton did in Cream, which was hugely influential on generations of guitar players.
Yeah.
Next up, we have song Crossfire, and this one starts off with some cool harmonics. And what's notable about this is one of two songs on this album that Dave Betts plays drums on, who's, of course, Honeymoon Suite's drummer.
Right.
It was recorded in a couple of different spots. It was recorded in Toronto, and it was recorded in Normal, Illinois. I'm not sure, but either Derry lives in Illinois, or maybe he might even live in Nashville these days. I'm not sure.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, this one's, you know, it's just another fun, you know, it's just good guitar instrumental music. I find myself putting this on a lot, and it's not an overly long album, so then I play it again.
Yeah, exactly. And this one here, like I said, heavy riff goes into the melodic soloing. This one right here, I get like the Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien feeling of this one. I could see like this would have fit, like this is like, it wouldn't surprise me if that came from that album. Like, hey, not saying that it sounds like it. I'm just saying it gets that feeling from it. And this is, I think, to our point that we've always made, that he can make this type of an album just like, you know, just like Satriani and Vi, and I love those albums. He can make a guitar instrumental album, like you said, where there's no vocals, but the guitar parts are the vocals. The soloing is right there. I just got that feeling. Just feel, boy, this could have been Surfing with the Alien. That type of strong structure. Let's put it that way. That I got from that.
Yeah, it's, you know, not that the songs sound the same, but our comments are about the same, because he's just doing it right. And yeah, you know, there are a lot of great bands with good guitar players and great songwriters. Not all of them have the chops to make an album like this. Derry is he's a virtuoso. He's a shredder, and he's perfectly capable of doing this. I mean, in another, you know, if he'd have been in, you know, New York or somewhere else than in Toronto, he could have ended up one of those guys on Shrapnel Records or Relativity Records, you know, like Richie Kotzen. And I mean, and plus he's a decent singer too. Like, he could sing his own material. I mean, he's not. Yeah. I prefer hearing Johnny sing in Honeymoon Suite, but Derry's a perfectly good singer. I mean, all anyone needs to do is listen to Feel It Again. That's him singing the parts in that chorus, and you'd miss that if it wasn't there. So just an all-around great musician. So next up, this is interesting, and I think you might be onto something with the titling of the songs. This is called Mezcal. This one's got some laid back, clean guitar, but I wonder because I know, I mean, he said it many times. Obviously, Eddie Van Halen was a huge influence on Derry. And when I saw the title Mezcal, it made me think of Cabo Wabo.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this song maybe isn't a slight homage to Eddie without doing the obvious, like doing an eruption type of thing. I wonder if this is the idea of like, hey, you know what? Eddie could do that, but he could also do really nice, clean stuff too. I'm not sure.
Exactly. I got to start beside this one. This is one of my favorites on the album. And it's got that acoustic intro. And again, so I love what you said about the homage to Eddie, because I'm thinking like the Van Halen song Little Guitars with that
Yeah.
little acoustic intro. And I really like this song. Very cool melodic solo. It's kind of a mid-tempo type song. So which would be kind of like the Little Guitars kind of, it's kind
Yeah,
of a
that's a good point. Or even Spanish Fly is
yeah,
little.
that's the one. That's the one I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. Yeah. And it's just so cool. It's just like, and when to get to that point, and since we mentioned Eddie here, how you said, I wonder if some of these songs he could do like in a Honeymoon Suite set. Sometimes like when Eddie did his guitar solo, especially like on the Live Right Here Right Now album, which I love, instead of just doing like an all-out solo, a lot of times he would like piece together different solos from his songs.
Yeah.
And this, when you said that, I'm thinking, oh, like in a Honeymoon Suite, like he does, instead of doing like a 2-3 minute guitar solo, maybe he can kind of do bits and pieces of these songs or just play like a song. Cause it's not a very long album. The songs are
Yeah.
fairly short, but as soon as you said that, I said, oh, wow, that would be so cool. Like this would be a cool, like a little bridge right there. Right. And then,
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I mean, when Eddie would solo, of course he would do Eruption, but he'd do parts of Cathedral and
yeah,
Mean Street Intro. And I've seen HMS 3 times in concert, but I haven't seen them in like 8 years. So maybe, fans that have been seeing them year in, year out would go, oh, he did that live. Like back
yeah,
to Eddie again.
yeah,
On the Live Without a Net Home video, during his solo, he plays what would become 316
yeah,
5 years later.
yeah.
But back then it didn't have a name. It was just this nice little melody he played. So yeah, I have to wonder about that if that's a nod to Eddie. Next up, another favorite, Mishmash. This one's a really fast one. He's got a lot of fast ones on here. And it's funny, this one, and Chess and I did not talk about what we thought of the songs prior to filming, guys.
Yeah.
This sounds like it could have been off Flying in a Blue Dream to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like Can't Slow Down, that sort of fast song. Yeah. Another great one.
Yeah, it picks up the pace on this one, and yeah, that was the album too that I was thinking right there, and also, and again, not I kind of get like, not that it sounds anything like Steve Vai's solo albums, but I got a Vai feel because he kind of, he's kind of going along with the song, and then he kind of goes into the solo. It's kind of like a quick little solo right there, kind of like the way Vai does a lot in his solo albums, like. He's going along, and then he just kind of picks up, and he just starts wailing on a solo like really quick right there. But yeah, I love the Flying in the Blue Dream reference. And again, not that they sound like it, but it's just they've got that vibe to them, and it's like, and everybody here, what you and I are going to fly the flag again about it. He could do that type of stuff.
Yeah, this is not the guitarist from Honeymoon Suite's doing an instrumental album, and because we know how great he is, we're like, he can do it. He can compose songs that work. Like some of the songs on here could be adapted into vocal songs.
Yeah.
But he's perfectly capable of putting together fully fledged guitar songs. And as far as I can tell, yeah. I mean, other than the drums, he plays all the guitars, all the bass, and any keyboards that might be on here. There's 3 different drummers, so it's a mixture of drummers on here. But actually, I'll throw the names out because obviously we get Dave Betts, who's HMS drummer. Chris Sutherland is not a name I'm familiar with.
Didn't recognize him.
Nor is Brooks Ferris, but it's about an even match of the 8 songs on here that have drummers. But yeah, good stuff. Just good stuff. Now the next one's interesting. Devil You Know. This one is this is one of those songs where I could hear him making a vocal track out of this, but it's interesting because the expression "better the devil you know" implies familiarity, and obviously it's an intentional thing. But he throws in that little midsection from New Girl now,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
instantly recognizable to anybody who's ever heard
yeah,
Honeymoon Suite.
yeah,
But just for a bit, the
yeah,
rest of the song stands up on its own. It's got some. The riff is really cool. It's a finger pick riff, and it's just another winner. Like here there's really nothing not to like about this album. If you like that really melodic Satriani stuff, folks, get this album. If you've never heard of Honeymoon Suite, or even if you've heard them and don't like them, I hear bits, but this is its own thing. This is just a good rock instrumental album.
yeah. And this one here, and I love how he goes into the New Girl Now bit on it. And like you said, fans of the band and song say, "Wow, we know that," But a
Yeah,
little bit of a southern rock feel on this one at the
me
start.
too. Yeah,
A little bit of start, and then he kind of goes into it, and then it kind of gets a little psychedelic. So I wonder, just kind of like for a little bit gets psychedelic. I wonder if that's a Jimi Hendrix, homage right there. He does the New Girl Now riff in there again, and then he goes, yeah, right around that 2 minute mark. I think the New Girl Now part
yeah,
comes.
yeah.
But yeah, a little southern rock, a little psychedelic, and putting in with the Honeymoon Suite there, a very cool song. I got to start beside that one of my favorites also on the album.
Next up, we got another really fast one, aptly titled "Speedball." This is just, he gets a chance to cut loose. It's a little bit like, a good comparison. I've often wondered, calling someone the Eddie Van Halen of something. Like if you say Derry is the Eddie Van Halen of Canada, that's a tremendous amount of pressure. Um, but he's, he's capable. But I also wonder, and I've never really heard him say it, but I've also wondered if Neil Schon is an influence on him as someone who can play very, very melodically, but then blistering lead guitar. I hear
And
a little bit of that in Derry's playing from time to time.
oh, great example. And similar type bands and genres with the Honeymoon Suite and Journey. They make that melodic AOR rock.
Yeah.
And to me, Neil Schon most likely was an influence on him because the band plays that type of genre and songs. That's a great point right there.
Very,
Yeah.
very sympathetic. I would have I would have loved to have seen Honeymoon Suite opening for Journey on the Raised on Radio tour when they were on the big prize. Like that would have been a fantastic double bill.
Yeah, missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely another fast one here. Again, I don't know if like I thought Speedball fast. I thought Speed King Deep Purple. I wonder if it was an homage.
You know what? I do know this. I've heard him say many times he's a Deep Purple Richie Blackmore fan. I think he said the first album he ever bought was Machine Head. So
yes,
that makes total sense.
I remember that interview. I remember him saying that.
Well, because you got Speed King and then you got Fireball.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Perfect. Next up is The Fly. Again, just more blistering lead guitar, and this is the other track that Dave Betts plays on. Dave Betts is the only drummer that I've got a pair of sticks from.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, a real fast. I love blistering on this one. Again, not saying that it sounds like it, but almost got like an Yngwie feel on it. Not Yngwie's got his own style of the neoclassical, but he plays very, very fast at times. And this song here, he's playing quite fast in it right there. Just that's a perfect word for it. It's a blistering song right there, blistering solo. It's just great, And often we're mentioning all these guitar players, and I saw an advertisement that Vi and Satriani, and they're going to get the G3 tour going on again, right? So I wonder. Then I started thinking, as we were talking about reviewing this album, I wonder what the G3 Canadian version would be. And I would think, as a fan of Honeymoon Suite and Derry, I would think he would be on there. And then I started thinking, gee, I think it'd be kind of cool just to come up like as fans talking what the Canadian G3
That's a great thing. I mean, I know right away I would say Derry, Rick Emmett, Alex Lifeson.
Yeah.
And most people would be like, I know what Tim's going to say. Yeah, I would say those three guys right there.
I had Rick right there too as two, and I was thinking, who's my third? And I think he nailed it right there with Alex. And I'm just, how cool would that be? And again, just like showing that like there's, everybody knows those bands. We know Triumph, we know Rush, and at some point, in general public probably knows Honeymoon Suite outside of the hardcore fans like us. But it's just like saying, you know what, like they can do this stuff too, right there. And it's got this whole other dimension to their music, and very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cool a few years ago when the G3 took when Phil Collin from Def Leppard took part. It's like, you know what? That's good because he's fantastic, and
Yeah.
you don't always hear that because he can shred. You don't always hear that in Def Leppard.
And to me, like I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point right there
A good
because
comparison.
yeah, because he shreds in Def Leppard. He's got his solos, but it's not doesn't like the song structures of those songs and the way the albums go doesn't really have that room to like let loose. Whereas in he was on that. I remember when that was announced, I thought, oh, that's really cool. Phil Collin on the G3, because there you'll just let loose on that thing, and you can do stuff where some of the song structures on those albums, and like what a great comparison, like Def Leppard, Honeymoon Suite,
Yeah,
and those two
it's songs
guitars
first, right?
And
they're
exactly, the songs first. Yeah,
they're very disciplined about that. I would put Night Ranger in that category too.
yes,
Because
yeah.
Brad Gillis could do one of those.
Oh, just the Ozzy album, just Speak of the
Yeah,
Devil.
that's all anyone needs. Yeah.
You put that on, and you see some of that footage when he's playing those other Ozzy songs when he finished out that tour for Randy. It's like, wow. But then, like you said, you go to Night Ranger, and the song structures are what they are, and they just, they're not, they don't, there's no room for like that type of
You
solo.
get it in the solos.
Right. But
a lot of it in the solos. But yeah, he's
do
another guy I'm surprised they haven't asked. Did they I'm trying to remember, there's been so many G3s. Did Steve Lukather ever do one of those? Yeah.
I believe he
Another
did one.
perfect example. Of course, Steve Lukather can play anything, but
Yeah.
But can shred with the best of them. And I think a lot of people may have been surprised. Like, oh, the guy from Toto can do that? Like if they don't know. It's so Derry, I mean, especially if they toured through Canada, if people didn't know his name, Rick and Alex would have been around that much longer and sold that many more albums. But all Derry would have to do is walk out on stage with that guitar, that tire track guitar, be like, oh, that's the guy from Honeymoon. Oh, I know who that is. So
iconic. Yeah, love that. Yeah.
And another guitar player, I don't think he'd do it, but another guitar player that's got the chops to do it would be Kim Mitchell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's fantastic. He's very self-deprecating about it, but blistering solos in some of the Max Webster songs and some of his solo songs too. Listen to Rumor Has It from Jimbo Logo.
My favorite Kim Mitchell song, and what a solo. And
fantastic.
Martin's written a lot about him.
Yeah. And Paradise Skies. He's not loud enough in the mixes on those.
Oh no, not a no way. But yeah, it's such a, because listening to an album like this, it's like you start thinking, because it's so good, you start thinking, wow, I wonder these guys could do that too,
They, that's really something that some of these guys should look into. And maybe all you really need is one major name like Rick Emmett, because I'm just thinking, a guy I've been lucky enough to have on the show, Sean Kelly. He's a perfectly good. He can do that stuff too.
Yeah.
So have Sean and Derry, and then Rick Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
They could those. They wouldn't be big venues, but they could do theaters across Canada. Man, I'd love to go to see something like that.
It's funny you mention Rick Emmett, because I've got his name down for the next track right here, and my comment I'm going to make. Yep.
Yeah. Let's finish it off. The last track on the album, Rita Marie. It's dedicated to Rita Grehan. I'm going to guess that's Derry's mom, and it's a nice acoustic piece.
Yeah, a nice acoustic piece, mid-tempo. I got that same adjective, nice piece. And again, here's where the Rick Emmett kind of comparison. It's those Rick Emmett interludes that would happen on.
Oh yeah, Midsummer Daydream, and
those are the ones I thought this is something like that. So Rick would have had to have been an influence on Derry, and I thought this is like, it just reminded me of one of those really nice little pieces that I loved when those things showed up on a Triumph album, and I was thinking, wow, this is just like that, and this is a really nice way to end off the album. Like, not a very long album, but there's a lot in there.
It's just it's a good length, and like I said, it makes you want to put it on again, and it's not you don't get that listener fatigue from listening to a 17 song album.
Right. And kind of like kind of get you going a little bit, you know, a little bit of
Yeah,
adrenaline, because most of the songs are very high pace, kind of high octane soloing in that. So, you know, kind of get you up right there, you know, kind of get you moving a little bit too.
I would hope at the very least that they're playing this album over the PA before HMS goes on stage. Like when I
Thank you.
think of those Rick Emmett solos, I think Steve Howe. Steve Howe must have been an influence on Rick Emmett.
Oh, yeah.
When I
Yeah.
hear like 5% for Nothing and the clap and like those his acoustic playing, he must have been an influence on Rick. So whether or not Derry was a fan of both of them or just a fan of Rick, I hear a little Steve Howe in there too.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was great. I'm really enjoying this album, and it's going to get repeated listens. And like you said at the beginning, like how cool for us Honeymoon Suite fans to have a new album, which is
Yeah, two new albums in 1 year. So
yeah,
folks, support these albums by these classic artists. Um, you know, Honeymoon Suite, Alive, great new album on Frontiers, and Derry solo album, Dirty Power. Rock Paper Merch is where you get this, and yeah, it's very very good. Comes highly recommended, and I'm glad I pulled the trigger on it. I
yeah.
don't know if there's vinyl of it or not, or if it's just
When I ordered mine, they only had the CD option, but I'm hoping it's one of those ones, because Rock Paper Merch kind of does that sometimes, where a vinyl version will come out
yeah.
eventually, maybe like on a limited run right there, because I'd love to have that one on vinyl too.
Yeah.
Just
And it's a short album, so it would just be a single
yeah,
vinyl. It probably wouldn't be that expensive. So
yeah,
yeah. But however you get it, you need to get it, folks. If you love good guitar playing, if you're a Satriani fan, if you're a Vi fan, if you just like this type of music, like a few years ago, I bought Reb Beach's album, View from the Inside. Was pleasantly surprised by that. This will fit right in flawlessly with a
yeah.
lot of that stuff.
If you like the instrumental guitar rock of those albums, Satriani, you know, Vi, you would like this. Yeah.
Tons of melody, tons of shredding. It's really good by one of Canada's finest. So there you go, Derry Grehan, Dirty Power. That's our 2 cents on it. Would love to know up there if anybody else has the album, what they think of it. Ches, thanks again for sitting in.
Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure. Yeah.
And hopefully Honeymoon Suite comes around here so I can maybe meet Derry, get him to sign this, and tell him what a good record he did on his own. Pretty much on his own.
Yeah.
There you go, folks. That's our review of Derry Grehan's Dirty Power solo album. Thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions, and talk to you all later.